Okay, let's take a look at this next problem. You actually would want to do this problem in your workbook, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it for a second. Okay, this problem says, what is the easiest way to write this? And there are 7 fours, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and they're all attached by multiplication, and we have choices here. Okay, the first choice is 4 times 7. The second choice is 4 to the 7th power. The third choice is 7 to the 4th power, and the fourth choice is 7 times 4. Okay, and we want to know what this really represents. Okay, so if we take a look at this, notice that they're attached by multiplication, so that makes them factors. And now this is a choice that says multiplication. This is a choice that also says multiplication, but remember that multiplication is repeated addition. That's repeated, but it's not addition. So that cannot be the answer. Neither one of those can be the answer to that problem. So then we have to deal with this. Okay, this choice and this choice. Okay, these are both exponents. We know one of them is correct. So here's what we do know for sure. That repeated multiplication is exponents. That's what they tell you to do. They tell you there's an exponent going on. Okay, now we just have to figure out what it means. 4 to the 7th means that you have a 4 7 times attached by multiplication. 7 to the 4th tells me I have a 7. I have a 7 4 times attached by multiplication. This is my choice because 4 to the 7th tells me the following. Let me write this a little bigger. This is called the base. This is called the exponent or power. You're generally going to hear the term exponent, okay? This is a natural number, and a natural number exponent tells us how many times to use the base as a factor. So this number 7 tells me how many times to use the base, 7 times, as a factor. So attached by multiplication. So that is 4 to the 7th power. That's the exponent. That's the base. This 7 tells me to use this 4 as a factor 7 times. And we know factors are attached by multiplication. So that's why that is your answer. Okay, so take a moment to look at your workbook and fill in the chart that's there, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, so let's fill in this chart. And let me write it out for you here. Exponential, sounds like a cool word, right? Exponential form, we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about the factored form. And we'll talk about how it looks simplified. And then how we read it. Okay? So we're going to do this together. And here we go. Okay, that's 5 to the 1st power. I'm going to finish the first row with you, but I'm going to put the other rows in so that you can do them. Oh, straight as an arrow. Love that. Okay. This is 5 times 5. This is 125. 5 to the 3rd power. Okay, and this last one. Okay. This could say 5 to the 3rd power, and I'm going to erase this for a second and stick in what else it could really say. This could say 5 to the 3rd power or 5 cubed. Okay. Okay, so let me do the first row for you. Factored form, there's just one 5 here, so you can just write 5. Simplified, 5 is just 5, so that clears that up. If you're working on this one, exponential form, since there are two 5s here, that would mean it's 5 to the second power. So one way to say that is 5 to the second power, but you can also say 5 squared. So when you have an exponent of 2, the term you use is squared, okay? So let's take a look at this. Simplified means just to work this out, really. 5 times 5 is 25. So I know 5 squared is the same thing as 25. This says 5 to the third power, so obviously that would be written like this, 5 to the third power. But it's also, you can also say it as 5 cubed, so the third power and cubed is the same thing. So if something's to the third power, you can say cubed. Something's to the second power, you can say squared. 5 to the third power would mean 5 times 5 times 5, which is where you get that 125. So 5 to the third power is 125. Be careful about doing this. 5 to the third power is 15, multiplying these. It's not multiplication. It's having this number as a factor that many times. Okay? This is 5 to the fourth power, which factored would mean 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Okay? Simplified, that would be 625. There's a little trick for that, too. All right, forget it. Okay, so I'll show you that later. Okay, 5 to the fourth power. And there's no special word for that. The only special words are cubed and squared. Exponents of 2 squared, exponents of 3 cubed. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's take a look at other exponential expressions and evaluate them. And I want to talk about that word evaluate because that's really important. You're going to see a lot of different words. You're going to see simplified, you're going to simplify, you're going to see evaluate, and you have to know the difference. Actually, some words can be used interchangeably based on the question. So let's talk about evaluate. When somebody tells you to evaluate something, that means you're going to get an actual number answer. So you can't just stop at 5 times 5. You have to go all the way, okay, to 25. Also, if the answer is something like 2x, that was not an evaluate question, because evaluate means you're going to get a number answer. So you're not going to get 2x. You're not going to get anything with x's or y's or any type of variable in there. So let's take a look at this. Okay, we want to, on the next two questions, we want to pick out the base, pick out the exponent, and then evaluate it. Okay. So here the base is 2, because that number is the base. It's what the exponent works on. The exponent is 5. And to evaluate it, I have to take 2 as a factor 5 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So 2 to the fifth is the same thing as 32. Okay, same thing here. The base is the number the exponent works on, and that's 3. The exponent is 4, and if I evaluate it, that tells me use 3 as a factor 4 times. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So 3 to the fourth power is 81. Okay, now let's make them a little harder because that was way too easy. Okay, so if we take a look at the next set of problems, we're going to actually make this a little harder by adding some more things in here. So let's take a look. Okay, this next problem is 2 cubed times 4 squared. 2 cubed times 4 squared. Now, we're going to do order of operations in this section, but first we're going to start really easy. You have two operations going on here. You have exponents and you have multiplication. Exponents always go first. They go before multiplication. So let's do that first. So we're going to do this, simplify this, and then we're going to simplify this, and then we're going to multiply it together. Now, here's where it becomes a little tricky as far as keeping everything in order. Whenever you want to do problems like this, you want to do the work off to the side. You don't want to do it underneath. So 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2 if you have to do that. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And then you just put the 8 under here, because otherwise you have too much stuff going on. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16, and you can do that. Now, if you can do 8 times 16 in your head, more power to you. If you can't and you need space to write, just use the end of your paper. 16 times 8, that's 48. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12, so that's 128. And this is called an exponential expression, okay, because you have an expression with exponents, okay? Anytime you have exponents there, it's called exponential. Okay, the next problem is 5 times 1 to the 4th. Again, be very careful about multiplying that 1 and that 5, because you have to do the exponent first. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to multiply them together. Well, there's nothing to do here. There is an exponent you don't see, but it's a 1. Doesn't make any difference. So that's just 5. Be very careful about 1 to the 4th power. Everybody thinks that's 4. But remember, you're not multiplying 1 times 4. You're going 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 1, which makes our answer 5. And we've evaluated here because we got down to our number answer. Okay? Now, I could also have told you to simplify. You still would have did the same thing. Okay? So sometimes simplify and evaluate are interchangeable words, but evaluate always means get to a number answer. Simplified tells you to go as far as you can go, okay, until you can't go anymore. I know that sounds weird, but you'll see that when we get into the algebra portion of this. Okay, there's a problem I want you to do, so I'm going to let you take a second and do it, and we can see what answer you get. Okay, so we're going to evaluate this. Okay, it's 12 divided by 2 times 3. Okay. Okay, this problem is a little deceiving because there are 2 operations, and depending on what you do first, you're going to get a different answer. Okay, so you got to understand how. Now we have some order of operations. Okay, we need an order of operations because it'll tell me what to do first here so that we all get the same answer. Okay, the first step is parentheses. But you have to be careful. It's parentheses if there's an operation inside. There's no operation in here, so this is not a parentheses. I'll explain that in a minute. So parentheses if there is an operation inside. And you're going to see there, a parentheses is really a grouping symbol, and there are plenty of types of grouping symbols. Even a fraction line is a grouping symbol, and we'll talk about that. You're going to have different kinds of parentheses. You're going to have braces. You're going to have brackets. You're going to have the very typical parentheses, and it's always innermost first. Okay? And then we'll go over all of this. And it's exponents. Now, be careful here. It's multiplication or division from left to right. So whatever you see first, you do first. And then 4th step, last step, is addition or subtraction from left to right also. Now, if you like Dirty Monkeys, we got another one for you. Look, we have parentheses, we have exponents, we have multiplication, we have division, we have addition, we have subtraction, and you can remember this. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now, for those guys in the room, most of you don't like to do this. You like to remember PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. I see it on top of a lot of people's papers. The problem with PEMDAS is when you write it like that, it means to some of you that you do multiplication before division. That's not true, because multiplication or division is from left to right. So be very careful when you write it like that, because that's truly not accurate. Remember, multiplication and division is from left to right, and addition and subtraction is from left to right. Okay, so let's do this problem. So you first have to ask yourself, are there parentheses in this problem? Nope, because that's not a parentheses, because there's no operation inside there. Then you have to, so that's out. Exponents? Nope. Okay, multiplication, yes. Division, yes. So you got to do whatever you see first. Well, looking from left to right, we see division first, so we do division. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then we do 6 times 3, which is 18. So the answer to this problem is 18. You will get a different answer if you do the 2 times 3 first. And I have to tell you, everybody goes and tries to do this first because they know parentheses is first. But this is not a parentheses. It just means multiplication. That's the same thing as if I take that parentheses out and put a dot in there. I would have the same question. So you got to be careful about that. So these are the order of operations. Okay, stop for a second and do the rest of the problems that are in your workbook, and then we'll come back and check them. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. 8 plus 6 times 3 divided by 2. So you're going to kind of go through the steps. First step is there parentheses. Well, that's a no. Exponents, no. Multiplication, division, that's a yes. And here's what you want to do. You want to write everything down until you get there. So we're going to do the multiplication first because we see it first. So 6 times 3 is 18. Divide by 2. Now, again, you're going to go through the steps again. Now, you don't have to say it out loud every time, but this is what should be going on in your head. Okay, right now there's probably nothing going on in my head, but this is what you should be doing. Parentheses, no. Exponents, no. Multiplication or division, yes. There's division right here, so we have to do that next. So now we get 8 plus 18 divided by 2 is 9. And now you only have one operation left, so obviously you're going to do that one. So the answer to this problem is 17. Okay, let's try the next one. The next one says 10 minus 4 times the quantity 6 minus 4. Now be really careful here because there's lots of places to make errors here. So the first thing you want to do is parentheses, yes, because there's an operation inside. So you're going to write down everything you can until you get there. 6 minus 4 is 2. Do not drop the parentheses until you do a multiplication or division step. Okay, that's really important. Okay, now let's start again. Parentheses, no. That is not a parentheses because there's no operation. Exponents, no. Multiplication, yes, because that's multiplication. So I have to do that multiplication next. So I'm going to do this. 10 minus 8, and of course there's one operation left, so there's your 2. Okay, so let's do the rest of the problems that are left in your workbook. So we have 36 minus 3 squared times the quantity 4 minus 1. Okay, get used to saying that with a parentheses, times the quantity. And over 2 times 3 plus 3. Okay, so I'm going to do the top. And I'm going to label it here the top so that I remember that it's just the top. Okay, because a lot of times what people do is they'll do the top and think they're done. Okay, so here we go. 36 minus 3 squared times the quantity 4 minus 1. Order of operation says parentheses. Yep, have a pair because there's an operation in there. So now I do those parentheses. 4 minus 1 is 3. Now I go my next step. Parentheses, no, because that doesn't qualify as a parentheses because there's no operation. Exponents, yes. So I have 36 minus 3 squared. Remember, is 3 times 3 or 9. Now I go back, first step. Parentheses, no, doesn't qualify. Exponents, no. Multiplication, yes. I have multiplication. I don't have any division, so I'm going to do the multiplication. 36 minus 27. And 36 minus 27 is 9. Okay, so that takes care. Oh, look what I did. Didn't do the bottom. Almost forgot. So let's do the bottom. That's the top. So the top is 9, and I would put it right on the top so you don't forget to do the bottom like I almost just did. Okay, let's do the bottom. The bottom is 2 times 3 plus 3. So I'm going to do this. Parentheses, no. Exponents, no. Multiplication or division, yes. I have multiplication. I'm going to do that. I get 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. That's the bottom. So I'll put it on the bottom. So now we have 9 divided by 9. That's almost our final step. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So the answer to that whole problem is 1. I love how that happens. You go through all that and you just get 1 or 0. That's like my favorite thing. Okay, so we have a couple left, and then we're done. All right. The next problem says 0 divided by 10 times 1 to the 5th. Before we do the next two problems, I just want to remind you of something. If you have 0 divided by any number, that answer is 0, remember. If you have a number divided by 0, that answer is undefined because you cannot divide by 0. Okay, so remembering that from before, let's take a look at this problem. 0 divided by 10 times 1 to the 5th. So parentheses, no. Exponents, yes. Here's an exponent. Write down everything until I get there. 1 to the 5th, remember, is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is just purely 1. Now we go all over again. Parentheses, no. Exponents, no. Multiplication or division, yes, both. Got to go left to right. So 0 divided by 10, that's like this. 0 divided by 10 with the zeros on top. So that answer is 0. And 0 times 1 is 0. So that's that problem. We have two left. Let's look at this next one. 6 plus 3 squared divided by 0. Now look, I could go through this, but I know I have to do parentheses first, but then in the end I have to divide by 0. I can't divide by 0 because that's undefined. So I'm not even going to bother doing this problem. I know it's got no choice but to be undefined. That was nice. Want a lot of those? I like a lot of those. Okay, last problem. We're going to need lots of space for this one. Okay. We got brackets, we got parentheses. 30 minus 2, parentheses, 15 minus 2, close parentheses, close bracket. Just so you understand, bracket works just like a parentheses. Watch what I mean. If I have 3 times 2, if I wanted to, I could write this as 3 bracket 2. It still means multiplication because there's no sign in between, no operational sign between the two. It still means multiplication. Okay, so it works the same way. It's just a grouping symbol. And when you have numerous ones, you like to put some inside the other, so they have to be different. If you made just all parentheses, it kind of looks funny. So here we go. Okay, the rule for multiple parentheses or grouping symbols is innermost first. So these are the ones on the inside. So I'm going to copy everything down until I get there. Okay, 15 minus 2 is 13. And I'm not going to take off these parentheses because I just combined here or subtracted. Okay, so therefore I'm not going to take off the parentheses because I didn't multiply or divide. So now I go inside and I think about what's inside. Well, I have, when I come in here, I'm looking at just this now. Think about this. I have to say to myself, is there parentheses? No, this doesn't qualify. Nothing inside there. No operational symbol. So there's no parentheses. There's no exponents. Multiplication, yes, there's multiplication. No division. So I have to do the multiplication first. So it's 30 minus 2 times 13 is 26. As soon as I do the multiplication step, I really do want to take these away because later if you don't drop the parentheses after you do the multiplication step, you're going to have a problem. So now I'm here. I start over again. Parentheses, yes, parentheses, because I have an operation inside. So this is just 8 minus 30 minus 26 is 4. Now let's talk about this. This is really important. There is an operation between the grouping symbol and the number. So these are not attached by multiplication. This is really just 8 minus 4. That's all that is. You didn't need me to write that step. I just wanted to show you that's what it was. And 8 minus 4 is 4. So we're done there. That's the end of this section. The next section is algebraic expressions.